Hello everyone. This week I wanted to share with you some tips on how to survive in a stressful work situation. If you work in a job where you have to call customers frequently and interact with them verbally, make sure that you write everything down and keep it organized. If possible, get every request or comment in writing from the customer. This will come in handy later if anything is wrong or there's a dispute of some kind, and you won't have to try to remember things that happened 3 months ago. Now the real catch there is that you have to keep it organized. You have to be able to find what you're talking about 3 months later. And this also benefits you directly because you will have a concise, clear definition of what is expected of you and the time frame. And don't try to do something like, oh, I'll organize it at the end of the week. Trust me, do it right then because you'll know what you're talking about right then because everything that just happened will be still fresh in your mind then. And you can organize it in like 20 seconds then or 20 minutes later. And that 20 minutes becomes hard to justify. Just do it as part of your normal process and you will be so thankful in the future. Now we're going to get into some more emotional things. It is important to take responsibility for only those things which are within your control. There's a common expression, particularly in the IT world. A lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. Things happen. Sometimes deadlines aren't met. The only thing that you should hold yourself accountable for is those things that were in your control. External forces acting on it, poor management, none of those are your responsibility. I'm not saying don't apologize when deadlines aren't met. Obviously, the customer has expectations and you need to do your best to meet those. But I am saying that you don't need to internalize that. Know what things are your fault and which things aren't. By definition, if you're not in control of something, it is not your fault. Always remember to keep your perspective. Most of the time, it's not a life and death situation. And again, you should always try to be the best part of someone's day. But again, this is a control issue. Don't blame yourself if you're the reason they're having a bad day. And remember, we all want the same thing. You want the work done, the customer wants the work done, it benefits you to get it done sooner. We all want the same thing here, it's just up to you to actually execute it. Remember that everyone involved is a person. They may be having a bad day, you may be having a bad day, we're all people. The only thing you need to do is the best job that you can do. And I can hear the comments now. But I'm going to get fired if I don't do X, Y, or Z. Well, if you're doing your best, and you know you're doing your best and you couldn't do any better, and that's not good enough for your employer, end it. I get it, you got bills, but if you're doing your best and can't do better, it's an unrealistic standard to which you're holding yourself. If you have an office space, such as I am fortunate enough to have, and they let you keep a plant there, I highly recommend keeping a plant there. Just the simple act of having some living thing to care for and remind yourself that there is a life outside of this job is a very important thing. This is Juliet. I named her that for her brief stint on a windowsill. And this is Julia, her offspring, which I keep at my desk. So I quite literally have a piece of something living in my house at my office. It reminds me that I have a house to return to and other lives to care about, things that matter to me and not to my boss. And personally, side note, I love succulents for this purpose because they're so low maintenance. So you just give them a little water and they're happy forever. Like you can leave a weekend and they're gonna be fine when you get back. You can leave a week and they'll be fine when you get back. They don't grow very fast. They're kind of the perfect office plant. Not the prettiest, they don't flower, but hey, it's alive. My next tip is to actually reward yourself for your accomplishments. This is particularly relevant if you're working at a job where you feel underappreciated. If you got through a day that was really hard for you, do take some time to actually do something nice for yourself. And it doesn't have to be something that costs you money. Just remember to take some time to do something that makes you feel good. Another one that I really didn't believe in until I actually did it is to keep what's called a gratitude journal. And that sounds like psychobabble, I know. If you want, call it a list of things that didn't suck today. I find that it's important to write down 3 things that I'm thankful for at the end of every day. I always find that the third one is really hard, but this helps with the perspective again. You have to remind yourself that good things happen on bad days. This is going to be really hard some days, but I think it's really important to try. And again, this doesn't sound like something that would work for me, but I swear it does. Writing it down by hand is so much more emotionally productive than typing it out. You can physically pour your emotion into it, whereas all you're doing when you type harder is hurting your phone or keyboard more. It really forces you to feel what you're writing. I'm a big fidgeter, I don't know if you've noticed. So I love those fidget toys, stress balls, things like that. Just something to have my hands on and be doing physically while I'm doing a more cerebral job is really useful. It gives me an outlet for that energy that I otherwise wouldn't have. I think that's enough to go on for now. What tips do you guys have? Write some in the comments. Do you think any of mine won't work, or would you like to see any more? I'd love to do another video about this. There's a ton of techniques I didn't get into today. Let me know. Thanks for stopping by. I'll be back again next week with another video that I hope you'll find interesting. Until then, stay curious and calm.